Hey, what's up guys? Welcome to my channel, and today in this video we are going to move ahead one step and look at how we can introduce the entity of issue, and then there is some bit of relationship that we will be adding between a project and an issue, because obviously an issue will always rely or relate to a project, and we will see how using TDD we were able to develop all the things. So in this particular commit, as you can see, there are quite a few files that have changed, primarily because I had to create the model, so a lot of supporting files have been created. And what we will do is, let me close everything out and then look at the stuff. So the first test which we are interested in is the page response test. The only addition over here is to just confirm that it shows the project issue list page, right? So that's the pretty standard one which we always do. So it is like, we have created a user, we created a project, then acting as a user we are going to this particular route, which is issues.index, and we are passing the project, and then we are asserting that the page loads. Now when we are talking about this route, what we have done over here is this. So I've defined a resource route for issues. However, let me just close that thing. The URL over here for every issue is projects slash, and then I'm taking the project ID. Basically I'm doing a route model binding over here, if you're not clear. So what happens is, a quick 101. Route model binding, what it allows us to do is, right now I'm saying that after the projects, so let's say it is projects slash 1, which means this is project ID 1, and then I have issues. So what will happen is, if the URL here becomes 5, I will see all the issues which are related to project 5, and on top of it I will be able to get the project with ID 5 inside my controller automatically, because Laravel, the framework, understands that we are binding this model to the route, and so it automatically fetches that particular model for us. We don't need to explicitly query with saying that project where project ID equals this, and then load that model. It will automatically understand and do that for us. So then we created a controller, and inside the controller right now we have one method, okay, to get this status code as 200. What we did is we created a view pages issue index, and we were just passing it. Now there are some query, but there is one query which we will go into later. Right now we are only talking about the page response test. So we did that, and obviously as you can see this is passing because it is just checking whether the page loads or not, which is obviously happening, right? In the UI, if I click over here, as you can see we have projects slash the project ID and then the issues in the URL. So this ensures that we are able to load that particular page. Fair enough. Let's now get rid of these things. We understand that the route is also created. The next big test, and the meat of it, is over here. Let me close things out, and I'll just first collapse all the tests. And as you can see, we have quite a few tests in here. Let's go through them one by one. The first test is shows a list of tickets on that project. Now what are we doing over here? So we created a user, obviously that's fine, because we need that as acting as. I could have also done this directly, we will need one less variable to work with. So I can literally do this. Then we create a project, we create an issue, and in the creation we are sending the project ID, which is this project ID. So now let's quickly understand what is happening over here. So we are creating an issue factory and we are passing this. So first let's understand the issue migration ID. Okay, so I'll just show you the create issue table. So we have these columns in place. We have the ID incremental thing, which is fine. We have the GitLab ID because many times, when later on we will do the webhooks and stuff from GitLab, the identifier will be the GitLab ID. So we are storing that over here. The internal ID is basically the ID of the issue inside the project. So for example, if you go to this particular ID, see the project ID here is a pretty big one, right? And when we start creating issues in this, the issue will start with ID 1 for that particular project. And if you create one more project, the first issue will again say 1. So what they are doing is, although the issue will have an increment ID, but for the project they have a different ID, so that it is a little easy for us to understand. That's how we reference tickets. So that's the internal ID versus the GitLab ID. Then we have the project where it is related to, the assigned to, closed by, title, description, state. In the state I have an enum because I was looking at these two states, so I thought this needs to be taken care. Closed at, labels, assign, and due date. So this is what I have done. Okay, and then obviously I have my issue model. These are the fillable ones, these are the casts, the project, and the assigned to. Okay, so the project has a relationship with the project class, assigned to is having a relation with the user, and then I have my issue factory, which the plugin idea plugin has created. So I have these things, and now although this is something which I had covered in my previous video of the model project test, but this is where we are kind of doing the query and stuff, so I thought it makes sense to just do a quick recap. So we have the factory, obviously we have the policy. Right now everything is true, but and how does the framework know that this policy belongs to a model is over here. Okay, so this is done. Now let's go back to our test and see what we are trying to do. We created an issue factory. So if we quickly check the factory, we have assigned to and stuff, random numbers. Instead of that, I am sending the project ID, and because I am doing that, due to this relation of project, I am able to map the ID of the project in the issue column, which is, if you remember, is here, right? So the relation is created, and then when I'm going into this route, I want to see the title of the issue. So how do I ensure that? So let's go to our issue controller. Inside the issue controller, I'm trying to create a query where state. So now this is a magic method. I could have done something like where state and then issue state enum opened. Okay, this would have also worked, but somehow I felt this reads a little better, where state is issue state enum open, and this is how the enums really start making much more sense. It's much more readable, right? So yeah, you can do that. I mean, to a certain extent, if you are pretty confident, right, that your state will be only opened or closed, you can literally make it a binary in the database saying it's a boolean column, and then your enum can literally have the 0 and 1 as the value, whereas in the entire application you can use these enums to reference them as opened or closed. So you don't need to remember what the 0 represents and what the 1 represents. Now, this is a ticket or an issue, it's a little easier, but there are certain situations where you carry that baggage, and in this way you don't need to do that really. And then we are loading the relation of assigned. Then we are doing a where clause on the project ID, because as you can see, because of the route model binding, if you remember in web.php, we are loading the project through this route model binding, right? So inside the controller, I'm directly injecting the project because I will get that. Framework will load that for us. So we put a where clause. We only want the issues which are related to this particular project. And then we are sorting based on latest, and we define the column that we want the latest tickets based on the updated ad, and we get the paginated 10 records. Once we do that, we go to our obviously we are passing the data with the width column. You can also do something like this, compact and then issues, but somehow that width method is something which I like, because I do have the ability to make it something else. Like if I have ticket, I can do that, and it reads a little better. It says view with issues, whereas the other thing reads like view compact issues. So just a small tweak. Both of them will in the end give you the same result, so there's no good or bad. Okay, and then we have a lot of markup over here, because I'm just doing a list. I'm just doing a for each. I'm printing certain things. Once we have some data, right, it would make more sense. And yeah, that's pretty much it in terms of the rendering. So what happens is, with these changes, I'm able to assert that when I'm going to this particular issues index page, I'm able to see an issue which is for that particular project, obviously, right? Shows a list of open tickets only. So in here, the idea is that when I go to the listing of that issue page, I should be only looking at the opened tickets, because inside the controller I have that condition. So how do we do that? We have a user. Okay, again I can just do this, save one variable. I have a project, I have an issue which has some title, project ID, and then I have a state. If you remember in my issue factory, where is the issue factory? I have a state which is closed, and in the closed state I have the enum set to closed. So it will create a ticket for me, or rather, I'm sorry, issue for me, which is with the state of closed. So I do that. So I have in my system right now two issues. Both of them are related to the same project. Okay, acting as this user, I go to the same route, which is issue.index, and I assert that I see the first issue, which is the normal one, and then I assert that I don't see the second issue, which is the closed one. And this is how I'm ensuring that I'm only showing the list which are of type open. Okay, now shows the recent updated ticket on top. This is a little tricky. You need to play with time, almost like sands of time. Again, now what I will do is just change this. Right, so we create a project and we create 3 issues: older, old, new. Okay, so we have one ticket. I'm too much into tickets, so sorry about that. So we have one issue which is going to get created just now. Then there's one more issue which will be created a day back, and then one more issue which is 2 days back. So we are kind of literally going back, and then we go to the same page, and what I think I have done is the assert C is fine, but assert C, it should have been text in order. Assert C in order, let's see. Right, so that was a mistake in the code that I had written. I found that issue while I was explaining it to you. So what we are doing is we are trying to maintain a sequence. So the first item on the page which I should be seeing is the issue new, then old, and then older. So what happens is, if for some reason I make this as 5, then ideally when we are sorting by latest, this one should be second. So now if I run my test, it is failing, right? And what it would say is contains this in specified order, add this. So it is not able to assert that, right? Because when we change the sequence, we are not anymore, oh sorry, days 5. I will run that again. Okay, so we are subtracting days. This is 1, oops, and now it should pass, and it does. So this ensures that we are always showing the issues in their preferred order. Okay, what else? Shows few critical information of a ticket. So this is basically where I'm ensuring that I'm able to see the ticket title, sorry, issue title, the issue state, and obviously the page loads. This is something which I generally keep. The next thing is shows tickets, end tickets on the listing page. So right now I'm creating a count of 10 because that's the pagination thing I have. Okay, so I have a user, again let me change that. So I have a project on line 94, then I create 10 more, and then I'm doing latest equals issue factory this. Okay, all of them are related to the same project. But now what is happening is, see, these are all created with subtracted date. So they are all, they have an updated ad which is 1 day before the current date, right? And this one is going to be latest because it's now. Okay, and then what I'm doing is on the page I'm asserting that I'm able to see this. Okay, and that's the beauty, because if it wasn't visible, that means the latest one is not coming. Okay, and I can put it on top as well, it doesn't matter. Ideally it should run because I'm playing with the date and time. So that's how things work. Shows user assigned to, shows, yeah, I think the sentence is wrong. Shows assigned to user when assigned. So what I'm doing over here is I'm creating, again, this user can be going over here directly. So I have a project, I have an issue. Okay, in this particular case I need the user because I am assigning it. Fine. So I create the user, the project, the issue, and in that issue I am assigning that particular issue to this user ID. It is based on Gitlab ID. Okay, and then we go to that particular page and we see, and rather we try to assert that we see assigned to user. Okay, now this is the last one, user factory name. So we create a user. This one I can again change. So it does not show user when assigned. It's basically that, yeah, I'm using it over here as well, so I won't change this. What I'm doing is, so create the user, the project, the issue. Okay, assigned to 99, which obviously for the sake of simplicity I have kept it like that. So this user is not visible over here, is something which I'm asserting, because when I create this, right, the world is created afresh for every test. So I have one user, and this user's ID is definitely not going to be 99. So I'm just asserting that. Okay, I could have also done that assigned the ID. I could have kept something else. I'll see if that really makes sense, but right now this is kind of okay, this approach. And yeah, so we are able to do that. And this assignment thing we are able to test because in as I showed you, inside my issue, I have the assigned relationship, and in the user, I have issue assigned. Okay, so one user can be assigned multiple uh, issues. That's obviously how that needs to be done. So yeah, I think that's pretty much it which I wanted to cover in this video. We looked at all the test cases that we have written over here and how to kind of get a green on these test cases. I was kind of writing the code based on the requirements of the test, and with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 tests, I'm generally able to ensure that the listing of the issues with the context of the project is working properly. So that's about it, guys. That's what I wanted to cover in this video. A TDD approach to creating issues for a project. Now, then in the next video, I'm going to configure the webhooks of GitLab so that we are able to um, get the data of an issue from GitLab whenever there is any change or when an issue is created on GitLab. The webhooks will come to us. We will use ngrox to create a URL which we can put it as a webhook on the GitLab project settings, and then it will send us the webhooks, sorry, not webhook URL, but the webhook, and we will take that data, we will process it, and we will insert it in our database. So that's what we will do in the next video. Till then, thank you. If you like this video, do click on the thumbs up icon and don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Now, in regards to the series, as I have said in my previous videos as well, if you have any feedback, feel free to share through the comments, and if you have any ideas, you can let me know about that as well. It's an open source community based project. I'm building it in public, so if you have any ideas, then you can create an issue as well, and if it generally fits with the roadmap which I'm trying to do, I'm more than happy to include that as well. And if you want to create certain PRs, if you want to improve the product, feel free to do that. I won't say it's a product, it's just a project that I'm trying to build. So yeah, thank you, bye bye.